Hi, it's been a while since my last YouTube video, but I'm back today and through this fall and probably winter because I am expanding on my solvent-free oil painting journey. So this video is kind of a follow-up to my previous solvent-free oil painting video from 2020, I believe. I will link to that video in the description box. But I'm trying some new things, or we'll be trying some new things here. So I want to discuss those with you. Brief recap from that last video. Just what am I talking about with solvent-free oil painting? So solvents are liquids that can dissolve our paint. So, for acrylic or watercolor painting, like water is a solvent, but water is not the solvent for oil painting because oil and water don't mix. So the solvent or traditional solvents for oil painting are odorless mineral spirits or turpentine. And each of these can be problematic because they are flammable substances and they release harmful odors, fumes into the air that we don't need to be breathing while we are painting. And even though odorless mineral spirits says it's odorless, it is not odorless, and there are still some fairly toxic fumes that I've wanted to eliminate from my practice. I will say that before going completely solvent-free, Gamsol I have found to be a pretty nice odorless mineral spirit solvent that seems to have the lowest fumes and has bothered me the least. But I don't want to take any risks with the long-term effects of painting with solvents on my health. So I've been working to just eliminate those from my painting practice. So why do we use solvents in oil painting? Really, we use them for two reasons. One, to thin the paint, whether that is to tint your canvas, a color before painting, to do that preliminary sketching or planning out your composition in thin washes, because oil paintings are built from thin layers to thicker layers. So if you have something you can mix with the paint to make it very thin, kind of look like watercolor in those early stages, it's thin, fast drying, perfect for layering on top of. And two, we use solvents to clean the paint out of our brushes, whether that's between going from one color to the next while you are painting, or at the end of your painting session, getting your brushes clean. So solvent-free oil painting is actually pretty simple if you have a direct method of oil painting, or your technique doesn't require those thin initial layers of a wash or a toning of the ground or of an underpainting underneath. If you don't do that, if you just go in, very directly with paint, it's actually really easy to just clean your brushes without the use of solvent. There's many products on the market that are non-toxic brush cleaners, but simply oil can clean your brushes, various soaps and things that don't require harsh solvents. However, I really enjoy toning my grounds especially. I always paint from a toned ground, and I really like sketching out my compositions in underpaintings. And I teach painting classes, and I teach students to work from toned grounds and underpaintings and thin layers up to thicker layers of paint. So I need a solution for painting without solvents that still allows me to have thin initial layers of paint in my paintings. So in that last video I made from 2020, I described what process I was using at that time, which was to use acrylic paint for my underpaintings, because I could thin the acrylic paint with a combination of water and there's a Liquitex medium flow aid that I like to thin the paint as well. So water and flow aid mixed with the acrylic. I could get that wash in my initial layers, let it dry 24 hours, and then I can paint oil on top of that, because you can always paint oil on top of dried acrylic. That's what most of us have. Our canvases are usually gessoed in acrylic gesso. So I've been using this acrylic paint method for the underpaintings, and I just don't like it. I don't like having two separate sets of paints. I don't use acrylic paint otherwise, so I had, and granted, I just had a red, blue, and yellow to mix to create whatever I needed for those tone grounds or underpaintings, because I didn't need a whole range of color. But I don't like buying paints that I only needed for that one situation. I don't like having to keep track of separate brushes, because you shouldn't use oil brushes for your acrylics because they have that oily residue in them as much as you clean them. I mean, it never really comes out. So I had to have my acrylic brushes and my oil brushes. And, I just want it to be simpler. I mentioned before, I teach painting classes too. So I'm always thinking about supply lists for students. I don't want to tell students to buy both acrylics and oils and have separate brushes for acrylics and oils. I want it to be simple. Just here are your oil paints, here are your brushes, and maybe there's some other solution out there for this solvent. Now, I know that original video, I got so many comments from people. They're like, just use water-soluble oil paints. It solves all of your problems. I've used water-soluble oil paints. No offense to you guys who love water-soluble oil paints, but I don't like them. If I'm actually using them with water, thinning them with water, which is the idea, is that you use water as your solvent instead of having to use odorless mineral spirits or terps, I don't like the quality of them. I don't like the way they look, the way they move. If I use them like regular oil paints, they seem to work okay, but that defeats the purpose. And there aren't many brands that make them. I already have all of these regular oil paints. I want to just continue with my true oil paints. Not a water soluble oil paint fan, unfortunately. Okay, so my goal is to be able to create a painting from start to finish using my wonderful, beautiful oil paints with a solvent that is non-toxic, non-flammable, and acts as a true replacement for odorless mineral spirits or terp by allowing me to add it to my paint, to paint thinly, to paint washes, and also use to clean brushes, a true replacement for odorless mineral spirits or turpentine. So I have found some things that have been recommended by various websites, by various artists, by other YouTubers, by various blogs, and I've got some things to try out. So that is going to be my project for this fall and winter, is to try all of these out, figure out how they behave, and hopefully find a new solvent-free painting method for me that feels more natural and more true to the spirit of oil painting. Okay, so here is what I have. Let's start with the ones I'm least excited about. So I have the Chelsea Classical Studio lavender line. A lot of people recommend this. A lot of people use this. So I actually have 3 products. I don't know if I'll use them all. I have the lavender spike oil essence, which a lot of people have turned to this as their solvent replacement. But I also got the lavender brush cleaner, because despite being called a brush cleaner, it says on their website it can be used to thin paint as well. And it's a little cheaper than the lavender spike oil essence, which is pure lavender spike oil. And this one has a couple different, it says on their website, it has a couple different things mixed in with it, and it makes it a little cheaper. I also have their lean medium, which I don't know what's in it either. So this one has lavender spike oil essence mixed with linseed oil. So we'll see. I know a lot of people use these. I'm not excited about them because 1, they are really expensive, and 2, using lavender essential oils, even though that's not a toxic fume, it's still going to be a really strong odor. And I have sensitivities to some essential oils. I know I've used face masks in the past that have completely broken me out in a rash. So I'm a little hesitant to have prolonged exposure to an essential oil that I don't know if it's the answer for me, but we'll see how they behave. I also have Sennelier's Green for Oil thinner. I'm kind of excited about this one. I love Sennelier, the brand, especially for like oil pastels, oil sticks. So high hopes for this one. Non-toxic, non-flammable. Sounds good. Then I have two I'm really excited for because they're pretty affordable. The first one is the Art Treehouse Bio-Based Artist Rinse and Thinner. You can tell that I have high hopes for this one and the next one because I bought a much larger quantity. So Art Treehouse, and if I haven't said this already, I'll put all of the links to these in the description. And then the last one's from Earth Paint. It's the Eco Solve, and I bought a really big thing of this. But yeah, I'm pretty non-toxic, archival, no harmful vapors, plant-based. Sounds fantastic. So we'll see how this works. So those are the solvents I have to try. I also picked up just a couple extra painting medium things. I had been using walnut alkyd medium as my replacement for liquid when I tried to move away from solvents, but I got the Gamblin solvent-free fluid as well to try out. And then for cleaning my brushes, I've been cleaning, well, hopefully the solvent takes care of that. And I can just clean my brushes with my solvent again. But I've been using walnut oil to clean my brushes, and it's a little bit pricey, or at least the brand I buy is. So I got this Utrecht brand safflower oil to use just as a brush cleaner. That's a little more affordable. And I think everyone knew this but me because every blog or website I read recommended this. But I grabbed some clove oil from Amazon because I do run into the jar that I pour my walnut oil in. It starts to set and to thicken and to harden. And apparently a little bit of clove oil in your either walnut oil or safflower oil keeps it more liquid for a longer period of time, prevents it from drying and setting up. So one of the solvent alternatives that is missing from this assortment that I have is the one I've probably been aware of the longest, and that's the Terpenoid Natural. And I didn't buy any of that because I've had a student use it in the past, and it's been several years, but there was a sort of a bad experience with it. She had used the Terpenoid Natural, and it might be a great brush cleaner, but she was using it to thin the paints for an underpainting, and it didn't dry, and it left a real like slick, oily, filmy surface on her canvas. And we weren't sure at the time if that was just how Terpenoid Natural behaves or if something went wrong. So when I went and purchased all of these supplies, I did some Googling and searching on Terpenoid Natural, and it seems like other people have had that same experience with Terpenoid Natural, that it's a great brush cleaner, but it leaves a bit of a film and is very slow drying for oil painting. So I'm not trying it right now. If by chance none of these solutions here work for me, which would break my heart, I have high hopes. But if that's the case, I might give Terpenoid Natural a try. It's probably the most readily available one. I believe they even sell that at the hardware store. But we'll see. We'll see where these go. So I will be posting updates, comparisons, recommendations, as I create a new body of work here, trying out all of these materials. I might do some YouTube shorts, which I haven't tried or gotten into before. Haven't ventured into those yet, but that might be a good way to post little updates on this. And yeah, we will chat again soon.